Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth, and I wanted to make a video to tell everyone my testimony um, of my life and my circumstances that led me back to Jesus and a relationship with Him. So, if you're curious because of the title that I have, I'm glad you're here, and I want to just tell what happened to me, because all our stories are unique. And, I never thought I would be sitting here making a video and talking about Jesus and the Bible and a relationship with Him again, because of what I went through, which I'll explain. I didn't want anything to do with Him. I didn't want anything to do with the Bible. Didn't want anything to do with churches. And I could not stand people who said they were Christians and professed their beliefs. I stayed away from them like the plague. So why is that? Well, let's get into my story. So I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school when there were actually nuns. There weren't a lot, but there were some. And they were pretty strict. That's how it was back then. And I went to church probably twice a week because we went every Sunday. But then we also, part of the classes went during the week as well. And I learned a lot about Jesus. The church I went to, they read from the Gospels. I think they might have read from Acts. But what I can remember, it was mostly the Gospels. And that was it. So I learned about Jesus and who He was and who Mary is, and how to pray. And so I would pray. It was all part of the Catholic belief system, which is there's rites and passages and ways that you pray. I had the confession, I had communion, had my confirmation. And my concept of God at that time was He's a man with a beard, or God, in physical form, a man with a beard up in the sky in heaven with a white beard. And He's kind of removed and distant from us and may intervene in our lives, but we pray to Him and He hears us. So that's what I learned about God. I learned there was a devil, even though the Catholic Church doesn't really speak much to Him or about Him. I learned through reading, having the Gospels read at church about Him, and how Jesus would cast out demons. And so I went to Catholic church, or I went to Catholic school up until I was a sophomore in high school. And then I'd had enough, and I was tired of the uniforms and the strictness and just the whole thing. So I went to public school, and I had a friend that went there, and I made friends at the public school I went to. And so, I think I maybe prayed once. My dad had a stroke, and I prayed to God and basically bargained with Him that He would keep him alive, and I would follow him, or I would be good. That's kind of how I remember it. And so I remember saying that prayer, and God did keep him alive. He didn't die as a result of his stroke. He died many years later. And then when I was 14, I had a friend whose mother went to a prayer meeting. And it was at someone's house. And there were a lot of people who went there. There were some people from the church we went to that went there. But there were a lot of people who didn't go to that church. They went to different churches or other places, or they didn't go to church. They talked about it being non-denominational. It's not like there was just one denomination there, although there were a lot of Catholics there. But it was by no means a Catholic prayer group, and it wasn't advertised as that. But the only way you knew about it is through word of mouth. And, my friend would tell me about it, and she would always ask me to come, but I wasn't interested. I was a teenager. I was interested in boys and, music, etc. But she asked me enough times that I decided to go. And basically, looking back, at the time I didn't know this is what it was, but it was a charismatic group. And so they had the gift of tongues, the gifts of the Spirit, the gift of prophecy, the gifts of healing, other things too. I didn't know anything about those gifts until later, but they are in the New Testament for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about. And there was a woman who was in her late 60s, early 70s. She was married. She was from Scotland. And she died in a car accident. She claimed she went to heaven, that she talked to Jesus, and Jesus told her that he wanted her to go speak to this Catholic priest and for her to start this prayer group that is now where we're all going, and that he would be using her. And I don't remember how much more that she had heard or he was saying to her. I just remember that. And I think at the time I believed it. I didn't have any reason not to believe it. She was very convincing when she would tell her story of the accident and being in the hospital and the glass just coming out of her face and not having any scars or any blood or something like that. How Jesus healed her and all from that accident. And, so I went, and basically at the beginning they, would sing lots of songs, not the Catholic songs I learned about or I knew about. They were totally different. And people seemed nice and friendly, and they brought their Bibles, and we read out of the Bibles. And her name was Jenny, and the woman that was the leader. And, she was very outgoing, always happy, always laughing, joking. And then it came time where, she would have people come up, and you would ask her to ask, Jesus to help you with whatever it is, whether it's a physical healing, emotional healing, or whatever. And then you would get slain in the spirit and you'd fall back, and then you would lay there for a while and until you felt ready to get up. Okay? And this is pretty freaky to me. I mean, I came from a very traditional old school Catholic church. But I was curious. I was like, okay. So I think the first time I went up there, I had problems with my back. And so I pray, I asked her for Jesus to heal me. And of course she claimed that everything she did was in the name of Jesus, that it was Jesus healing, not her, that he was working through her. And I remember and then I then I got, fell backwards and was laying there, and I could kind of feel something in my back area where the pain was. And then, she'll come over to people who are getting healed and she'll say stuff like, oh, the Lord's healing, whatever the condition is. In my case, my back, and then everybody's like, oh, Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. And I was a little scared. I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of laid there. And then eventually I got up, and then you have to go up and you have to say your testimony of what Jesus did. So then I said, it's like, yeah, I had this back pain and I had it for a while and I couldn't sit right. And, Jesus healed me, praise the Lord. And, everybody's clapping and all that. And this went on every week for years. Okay. So other times she would have the gift of prophecy where she would say things that would happen. I remember one time she talked about the world ending. I remember her talking about fire. And people running, being scared and screaming and running. Okay. I had not read the book of Revelation at that point. There was other prophecies, but I can't remember them. What else? And then, of course, people would speak in tongues all the time there at the meeting. So that was kind of my life once a week for a while. And then when I was, back in the world as a teenager, I'm hanging around people I shouldn't be. Being a teenager, doing what teenagers that I knew at the time did. I got into some drugs. I never for a long time, drinking, partying, sexual promiscuity, the whole thing. And even though I knew it was wrong, and then I would feel guilty when I would go back to the prayer meeting. It was like I was just doing it. I came from a very dysfunctional family, and I was also adopted, so was my brother. So I just wanted to fit in, and I wanted so badly to be loved and accepted. So I would fall into groups where, I would do things maybe I felt pressure to do, or maybe wasn't sure I should do, but I did them because I wanted to be accepted and loved. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So, I feel guilty every week when I come. I didn't feel at that time that I needed, no one told me, and I didn't feel at that time like I had to ask the Lord for forgiveness for all that, because that would mean, not doing those things anymore. And I didn't want to stop doing those things. The need was too strong for me to be loved, to be a part of something. So, I don't know when it happened, but there came a time when I was at this group that I felt more and more uncomfortable going up asking to be healed of physical things. Okay, now I know why. Because when I got healed of my back situation, actually, Jenny said the Lord said that He healed me of. I had a ligament that was torn in my back. Never went to the doctor to actually get a diagnosis of it, but this is what she's saying the Lord said to her. And I never went for confirmation after because I hadn't gone before, so there's really no way of getting the proof of that. Okay, and no one told me to, and I didn't really even think about doing it. It didn't come to me to go to the doctor. I just took her word for it. And probably that week, the pain started coming back. Okay, so I'm confused. So I don't remember how it all happened. Like, I don't remember if I asked my friend to ask, her mother to ask Jenny what to do, or if somehow I talked to somebody and they told me what I should do. But basically, what they told me to do, the people in the group, or Jenny, can't remember, was that I needed to keep praying and keep having faith, and that Satan was trying to steal my healing, and that I needed to do this. So that's what I did. I kept praying. I kept believing. But the whole Satan's trying to steal your healing thing, was a setup for me beginning to feel like Satan had a lot of power too. And I'm not saying he doesn't. But it makes it seem like he has a lot of power. He has the power to steal a healing. Okay, well, at this moment, I have read the Bible several times, and I don't recollect anywhere in the Bible where Jesus or any of his followers, when they were healed, ever said, Lord, or whoever the person who was healing them through the power of the Holy Spirit said, hey, the pain's coming back. What do I do? And them saying, oh, keep praying and having faith. Satan's trying to steal your healing. If you can find that in the Bible, let me know. But I know it's not in there. So, so basically what I'm trying to say is, this was the beginning of things like this happening. Okay? I think I went up for prayer for another time for something physical, and the same thing happened again, and they told me Satan's trying to steal your healing. And I was like, okay, that's it. I am not going to ask for physical healings anymore. I heard over and over in the years of people who got healed, who went and said, oh, the Lord healed me of this or that. And I didn't know them personally, so I had no way of confirming that Satan wasn't trying to steal their healing, or if it was just me. My friend didn't go up for physical healing, so I don't know. Or if she did, she didn't get healed. So I don't know. I have no one to talk to about that, to verify, if it's just me or if something's going on here. So I just believed what they were saying. I mean, Jenny would say, oh, the Lord's healing them. They would come up and say, yes, I had this or that. I went to the doctor and I feel like the Lord healed me. Then they go to the doctor, they come back and they say, oh, the doctor said such and such, I was healed. That's what they say. So, I stopped asking for physical healings. So then, and you get this pressure to feel like you have to go up. It's kind of like they look at you if you don't, right? It's not, I mean, it's not like they all stare at you at the same time. You just have this sense that you need to go up, or it doesn't look good, or there's something wrong with you. Same with if you miss a meeting. If you don't go every Thursday, then you have people asking, oh, well, where were you? We missed you. And it was the tone. So, and I knew from that tone, that translation of that tone is, it's not okay that you skipped a meeting, So then I had more guilt about being a typical teenager in the world, doing teenagery things, and then having guilt of missing a meeting, then having guilt that I don't have enough faith, or something's wrong with me, that Satan's stealing my healing. And so I would go up and I would ask, to help me with my studies, or I'd have to make stuff up, to be honest with you, because I ran out of stuff to ask for. I mean, but I felt the pressure of having to go up. And if I didn't go up, to ask Jenny to ask the Lord to heal me. So I stayed away for a while. Then I came back, so I'm 14. I went in and out for a couple years. And I came back when I was about 18 and stayed for a little bit. But, it was a very uncomfortable feeling. When I was there, I felt like, just with everything going on and what I've explained to you, that Satan had just as much power as Jesus did. Okay? Because I'd hear other things about Satan stealing this or doing that, or interfering with this, which happens, but the extent of it was so great that it made me feel paranoid all the time of the devil. Okay? So then I would go, and then I would have this paranoia. I felt better when I stayed away. Because then I would be worrying that something bad was going to happen to me, that the devil was going to, attack me in my sleep, or who knows what. So this fear of him and his power was great, which was a direct result of this experience I had at this prayer meeting. So I think you kind of have an idea where I'm going here. So I had a friend at the meeting. Okay, let's just call her C. Okay, not the same one that brought me in. And she she had stopped going, and she was one that went religiously every week. Okay, so I basically had decided at that point, when I was 18, I was done. I wasn't going to go anymore. Too much fear, too much confusion, and as far as any kind of relationship developing with Jesus, not happening. Didn't say anything about reading the Bible, on your own. Jenny was the all-powerful. Okay, she was the only one that had the gift of prophecy. She was the only one that had the gift of healing. Although we all could speak in tongues, which I question now, not the gift of tongues, but the experience there with the tongues. I was done. So I had a conversation with C, and she said, this was probably a year after I stopped going, and she said, oh yeah, I stopped going. And I said, why? And she goes, because, well, I have a story for you. And then she told me that, okay, every week we tithed. So we gave, money to basically to Jenny. I mean, I honestly don't know, and I didn't really think enough or care enough, I guess, I don't know, to know exactly what they were doing with it. I mean, there wasn't like there was refreshments there. I mean, there was chairs. I don't really know what they'd be spending the money on. Maybe wear and tear in the carpet could justify cleaning it, using the money for that. But as far as using it for purposes to serve the body, I highly doubt it. So what I'm getting at is she told me that Jenny would all of a sudden have a new car, okay? That she had furs that, she would show off to people. That, and other things they buy. So that was the big question mark for C. I'm telling you my friend's name was C. Stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, well, I never knew about any of this. And she's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like this was the in group. She was kind of with the in group who got to see a lot of this. She also told me that she would drink and get drunk and start cussing like a sailor. That was a big tip off, hearing that. And I have no reason not to believe C at all. I mean, because she was pretty shocked and upset about it. And then there was a whole fiasco surrounding this couple that C knew. It was actually C's husband's best friend's family, okay, which I knew, okay. I knew this family. I'd been to their house. They lived next door to the people who had the prayer group. And the man was retiring, and he wanted his wife to go with him and retire and move, okay, and move away. And his wife was torn, because you're basically taught that if you don't go to this prayer group every week and aren't a part of it, then then there's something wrong with you. It wasn't enough that I had made Christian friends that did not go to this group, that were Christians that went to a Christian church that I met in college, okay? That wasn't acceptable, because they weren't a part of this group. They may be Christian and follow the Lord and, read the Bible, all that, but, they were kind of on the outs because they weren't on the inside with this group. And so I had this pressure of trying to get my Christian boyfriend at the time to try to come, okay? Which, when you start telling them what really goes on at the meetings, they're kind of like, because they don't have the charismatic background at these churches. There are no, as far as I knew, there were no charismatic groups in my area. I lived in Southern California. So they kind of would look at me. I had a Christian friend, and they went to the same church as my boyfriend, and they never went. And kind of would look at me like, okay, well, we're okay with where we're at. Why don't you come to our church? And I would. Why don't you come to our, get-togethers, or, our Christian group get-togethers? And I would. And so that was, I kind of was slipping out of the prayer group and getting more into a Christian church kind of situation. And so C had told me, with this couple, that, the man had wanted to retire, move away. His wife was torn because she felt this huge affiliation with this group. They were already pressuring her like she needed to stay. And Jenny basically told her, she said, oh, the Lord is, telling me that something bad is going to happen to Mike. That's her husband. And you know, and and they decided, I guess, to break into their house and like steal their guns because they felt like he was threatened by the fact that they were telling her to stay and she wanted to leave and he wanted to leave. And now whether that was true, I don't know. But I don't even see him being violent. What's he going to do? Take the guns and go shoot these people? I mean, you know, I don't know if that part happened, but apparently they broke in the house, they stole his guns because they considered him a threat to her and to them. And they wanted to protect her, whatever. Okay, so she's basically, you can see over time how she's kind of falling apart. She's very, I remember, you know, talking to her a couple times and she never seemed with it and I never understood why. So Mike was driving one day, her husband, and he had so much stress because of everything going on with this group and the pressure they were putting on his wife to basically separate from him. Excuse me. And, you know, he wasn't welcome or accepted there anymore. And, you know, breaking in the house, the whole thing. That it was just too much stress for him. And he had a heart attack and he died while he was driving. Okay. And Jenny had said previously that something bad was going to happen to him. Okay. Take it however you want. I'm just telling you the facts. So, at this point, I'm not going to the group anymore. So I listened to everything she was saying, and it was just more confirmation. Ha! Glad I'm not a part of that anymore. You know, and now looking back, that was a cult. I mean, I know what it was. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind. There was total manipulation and brainwashing involved. It was not of the Lord. It was not of God at all. You know, you knowing what I know now. But that experience, okay, for a young mind, caused so much stress and anxiety and confusion and anger for me about what happened to me. Because I had gone there for so long. I had listened to her, Jenny, for so long. I had believed that this was the true way you believe and that there was no other way. And, you know, she'd always say stuff like, oh, I can't wait to get to heaven and the Lord tell me that, well done, my faithful servant. She'd say that all the time. You know, the healings, you know, the whole thing. It was so confusing for me. And I had no one to point me out the truth about it all. And so when I found all that out, and especially the part where she had stolen the money and what she'd used it for, it made me feel like, A, she was either totally out of her mind and just made all that up just to get money, or B, the harder truth, that she knew exactly what she was doing. She was a con artist. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she was using deception and manipulation and the con to get to us and just to get money from us. I mean, I think it was easier for me to accept A than B, because to accept B made me so angry. I can't even tell you how I felt. At the time, I felt like I had been spiritually raped. Okay? And any of you that have been in a cult, you're the only ones that are going to understand what it feels like to be spiritually raped. So the after effects of that, I had so much anger and rage. I wanted to burn my Bible. If I couldn't even stand the name of Jesus, I wanted to go burn the prayer meeting down, the house with Jenny in it and everybody. Okay, I can't even tell you. It's all justified at the time. I mean, I have since moved on and forgiven all of them, but at the time, that's how I felt. And it's so hard to believe, and it's still so hard to believe. If you could see her, she looks like your grandmother, okay? She looks like the woman next door with her sweet Scottish voice, always smiling, always happy, all the hugs and the kisses and, so sweet and nice. Okay, and then, of course, the flip side. She gets drunk and she vomits out, the truth. I mean, this is part of what con artists do. There's two sides to them. I don't know if she's a psychopath, but they have psychopathic tendencies, and we can talk about that later. But because there's a lot I've learned since then and continue to learn. But so deceived. So deceived. And the part that hurt the most was I had a relationship, although, on the surface, I had a relationship I was trying to develop with Jesus. And that all went to crap. So as I said, I wanted nothing to do with the Bible or Jesus or anything. I didn't even believe in God anymore. I just was done. Okay. So fast forward a couple years later, I hear from C again. She's going to a church. And she asked me if I want to go. It's a new church, and there's a new pastor there. He was from Hope Chapel, which is where I would go periodically. And he was over there at this new church. And he didn't have like an assistant pastor or anything. It was just him and his wife and his family and the church members there, and then new members. And at the time, I don't know why. I can't remember why I was more open to going than I would have been. Maybe a couple of years had passed at that point. So a lot of that anger had diffused, probably. And I was in... I don't remember why I was open to going, but I was open. And so I went. And I really liked the pastor. He was funny. He knew his Bible. And that's where I got to really hear the word. I got to hear like more of just the Gospels. And I liked his sermons. And I totally got into the Bible then. I read it from cover to cover. I developed a thirst for learning more about the Lord and having a relationship with him. And that's all I cared about. And I was in my mid-20s then. My early mid-20s, maybe 25-ish, I don't know. So I was very happy there. And I went there, and there weren't a lot of people my age. They were a lot older, and they were married and had kids. And then my friend moved away, so she didn't go to the church anymore. So it was just me. And I would go. I would get involved in it. So basically, I hung out with this older group. It was this married couple. They didn't have kids. And this other woman. And let's call her C. Okay? And she was very on fire for the Lord. She, read her Bible religiously, knew it inside and out. And she had been one of the members that had been there, like from the beginning, before the pastor had gotten there. Every now and then she'd throw in things about the new pastor. And nothing like totally slanderous, but just little subtle things. And it made you think, well, Rick, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, well, it doesn't really affect me. Well, and then she'd go on about the pastor, a couple times. And, I didn't know enough about the Bible then to understand that's not what you do. But I didn't know. I just wanted friends to hang out with. I had no friends to hang out with that believed in the same things I did. I found it very interesting that I was the only one interested in reading the Bible. Nobody else was. So the only people there was no Bible class. It was a very small church. Okay. So I was like, well, if they don't want to read the Bible with me, then who else am I going to read the Bible with? I don't really know anybody else. So I'm like, maybe I'll ask the pastor. Of course, he would want to read it with me. Well, he was too busy. I mean, he didn't have any associate pastors or anything like that. So he was really busy. So I just kind of read it on my own, which is fine. And so the more I would hang out with C and the other two people, it was fun, but it got a little weird. Because C would start talking about how she could see angels and how they were 80 feet tall. And she saw one like outside once. And, stuff like that. And I'm not saying anything against angels. I'm just saying that I question based on my experience in the prayer group. I wanted to believe her, but a part of me questioned in the back of my mind. Don't know anything about now. I can say I cannot recollect in the Bible any angels that are 80 feet tall. Can't say I remember reading about them. Okay, they're always in human form. The ones that had a message. Not the seraphim and the others. Those were in human form that would come and talk to people. Okay. Well, I didn't know that then. I didn't put it all together then. And question her. I don't think she would have liked to have been questioned. So there were other strange things she'd say like that, and it got to the point where, and this is the part I can't remember exactly. I don't know if Pastor Rick told a group of us when C wasn't there, or whether I heard it through word of mouth. But there was issues between Pastor Rick and C. It was like C was trying to get this prayer group going, a healing group, which I would go to, one night a week. And Pastor Rick was open to that. But it got a little weird at the group. It started to remind me of, what I'd come out of with the prayer meeting. And I felt like she was trying to be this leader and take charge and basically take Rick's position. And he kind of confirmed that because he was talking about it. I can't remember directly with us when she wasn't there, or I heard it from some other people that C was a problem that, he needed to somehow address, because she was pretty much stepping out of line a lot. And other things I think happened that he wasn't disclosing to us, but I remember that. And so I kind of stopped hanging out with her and them. And then one day during services, I think on Sunday, without us knowing, because I don't remember him announcing this, Pastor Rick invited another group, another church or another group, I can't remember, but it was another Christian group or church, to our church. So these people were there, and they were invited to share things with us about what the Holy Spirit, what Jesus was telling them to tell us. Basically, like gifts of prophecy. I don't remember if he actually said that they were going to do that, or what. I can't remember. All I remember is that these people were there. They were invited by him, and they were sharing with us. So I had a woman come up to me. I didn't know at all. Put her hand on me and pray with me and say, the Lord is telling me that you blah, blah, blah. And I can't even remember what she said, but I was like, done. Okay. That between C and, the issues with her and the pastor and, the groups that she had started that I was going to, and just some other things. And, I had another Christian boyfriend at the time, and he broke up with me, and and just that was the final straw for me. That scared me enough to be like, okay, so what kind of church are we here? Are we turning into this weird charismatic group with people that we don't know talking to us, prophesying, and, whoa. So I was not comfortable with that, at all. It was too reminiscent of my prayer group. So I left that church, and I left Jesus again, because I started feeling like, if this is what Christianity is, if every church I go to, because I had been to different ones as well, and kind of got the same feeling, though not as intensely as this church, but I was like, if this is what church is, I don't want anything to do with this. I mean, at the time, I equated church, a building with people who are Christians, saying they're Christians, and read the Bible, and sing, and pray. I equated that with having with Jesus and following him. Okay. So I was like, if that's what this is all about, Christianity, the whole thing, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm done. I'm done. So I didn't want anything to do with Jesus, didn't want anything to do with the Bible. For sure didn't want anything to do with any Christian churches or Christianity or anything. And that was it. I basically was done. And so fast forward, I'm in my early 30s, and I was having a lot of physical pain with my back again. The same back problem I had, that supposedly Jesus healed. And I had gone to different doctors, and basically they couldn't find anything physically wrong with me. And to cause that much pain, I was in a lot of pain. I could barely sit. And it was pretty bad. And so, I would hang out with a friend of mine a lot, and she decided to have this psychic party. And I was like, what's that? And she said, well, I'm going to invite the psychic, and she's going to tell all our fortunes. And I was rolling my eyes. I was like, how ridiculous, to myself, because I didn't believe in any of that. Well, fast forward, I decide to go. I'm the last one in the group of people to go in and have my, fortune told, or whatever, my aura read, whatever, or energy. She called it, I'm not a psychic, I do energy readings. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds kind of cool. And so I go in there and she's like, you're blah blahing. And I can't remember the words she used, but I kind of felt like she knew exactly what was happening to me. I felt like I was kind of in and out of this weird state. Like I was kind of half asleep, half awake. And I felt like, oh, wow, maybe she knows what that is, or maybe that is something. So I started to get intrigued. So she starts talking to me about personal things in my life and about how I'm this energy worker and that I need to be channeling my energy and using it for things, for positive things to help people. And she mentions energy work and energy healing, and I was like, okay. And I'm listening, I'm interested. She's telling me some other cool stuff that I like to hear that at this point is not worth even talking about, but the point I'm trying to make is my curiosity was piqued and I wanted to know more. So what do? I go out and I find out everything I can on energy healing. I read up about Reiki, okay, which is a type of energy healing method. Reiki in Japanese means universal life force energy, and I'm reading about it and I'm interested, but there's this part of me that doesn't want anything to do with it. So I'm kind of battling between both of it. Like, oh, this is a bunch of crap. I don't believe in this. But then I felt like this feeling of like, well, this is what she's telling me I need to do. Maybe it'll help me with my healing, because she's basically saying that my energy is dormant and sitting and I'm not using anything creative or any kind of way of dispersing it or using it positively. And it's just sitting in my body. And this is what's causing my physical pain. That's what she was saying. So I'm like, well, maybe even though I don't really want to do this, maybe if the pain will go away and I can have a normal life and sit for more than 5 minutes, then yeah, I'll do it. So that's how I went into Reiki. Okay, so fast forward, I become a Reiki master. There's 3 levels. I'm not even going to get into it, but so you learn how to put your hands on people and the life force energy goes through you and you heal, or you don't heal, meaning like, okay, they can't walk and now they can, but it's kind of like it will help them, although it's kind of like they never want to claim that it can heal you of cancer or it can heal you of an ailment. I've never run across anyone who has done that with Reiki, but it's supposed to help you or give you more peace. Quiet, kind of quiet down if you have stomach problems or, just kind of general stuff. So, I had a lot of Reiki work done on me, and I still have my back problem. So I kind of learned like, well, maybe it doesn't really heal you. It kind of made me feel peaceful afterwards. And so, as far as the Reiki goes, I let people know about it. I think I worked on a couple people, I just couldn't really ever get into it, but I tried because I thought that maybe if I did this, it would help with my healing. I never found that to be true, that by channeling my creative energy or healing this way would help me heal. Never happened. But for whatever reason, my interest in the esoteric and energy work and energy in general, and if you want to call it the New Age, I never did. The whole New Age stuff, the crystals, the whole thing started to become interesting to me. So the next thing I know, I decide to I needed to work to make extra money, so I decided to go to work at a New Age kind of bookstore that had the crystals and the the fountains, the New Age books, and all that fun stuff. I I decided to work there. So I would work at night and close. So by the time you got off and did everything you needed to do, it was probably like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And there were all these huge crystals in there. Okay, probably 3 to 5 feet tall. I don't know how she jammed them into this little room, this little storefront that she used, the owner. But she did, and I remember I was so, I guess the word is buzzed. I felt like, I really did feel like those crystals were affecting me. It didn't feel bad or negative. I mean, I just felt like I couldn't go to sleep. So then I would start talking to people who worked there previously on the night shift, and they told me the same exact thing. And then this one girl had said, oh, well, get this crystal, and wear it all the time. It'll help ground you. Okay, so I'm like, okay, cool. So then I start getting into crystals. And it seemed like when I would wear, I think it was called hematite, when I would wear it, it really did help ground me. So I was like, wow, there's something to this. I want to learn more. So then I read the book on crystals and how it has all these healing properties. And, I'm all into it and buying all this stuff, all these crystals and wearing them all the time. Never had anything negative happen as a result of wearing them. And so I love to read books. So there's millions of books on these shelves that are out there. And you guys that have been in the New Age movement or whatever you want to call it, esoteric belief systems, metaphysical beliefs, you know what I'm talking about. I'll tell you my first experience. When I first pulled one of the books off the shelf, okay, I think it was Barbara Marciniak, The Pleiadians, which is channeled information, which we'll get into in a minute, what that's all about. But I remember I opened it up and I started reading it, and it was so overwhelming for me. I like shut it and I put it back. It was like overwhelming. Like the information is too much. It's going to blow my circuits. That's how it felt. Okay. So in the course of time, I have more healing work done on me. I am searching out alternative modalities to heal because Western medicine isn't helping, because they don't see anything physically wrong with me. And even if they did, all they can give you is a pill or surgery, which I'm grateful for that I never, I couldn't tolerate the pills and I never had the surgeries. So I tried every alternative healing modality there is out there besides Reiki. I've had them all done on me. Okay. Never once had any negative effects, thank God, from any of them. But my back never got better. Acupuncture came the closest to taking the pain away, but eventually it would come back. Okay. So, as I'm having more of this work done on me, as I'm becoming attuned in Reiki to my 3rd level, as, time goes by and I'm involved now, I'm only talking to the New Age crowd, people that go to the store and work with me. The women that worked with me, we started hanging out together. And of course, they're all into the New Agey stuff. So, so as that's happening, I'm feeling differently. I'm really getting interested in Egyptian mythology and anything to do with Egyptian stuff. So I'm feeling led to go to the museum where they had the Egyptian exhibits there for a certain period of time in LA. So I went there by myself, and I had all these, I don't know what you call it now, but metaphysical experiences, past life stuff where I felt like I was I was in Egypt, and I was a daughter of a pharaoh, and so you get the gist. So I am like totally into this now because I'm having these visions and I'm having dreams now, okay, about being a Native American in a past life, being an Egyptian in a past life, being other people in a past life. I'm actually having these dreams and these visions, okay? And I feel very connected to the Native American belief systems and the Egyptian belief systems. So, of course, I buy books on them. And I read up more on them and about shamanic healing and shamanic journeying. So then I go and get shamanic journeying done. And you get the gist. Then, because I'm interested in the paranormal, and I always have been, I watched the show once, and there was a woman who was a Shambhala master and who was able to help souls that were trapped here on this earth, that she could actually see ghosts of people from the past, that she could actually see when she was driving, and she would help them transition from one side to the other, from this world to the next world. And so I thought that was so cool. And I felt like in a past life I had done that. And so I got interested in that. So I became a Shambhala practitioner. And the allure of this is the occult we're talking about, but I didn't know it at the time. We'll talk about it later or in another video. There's plenty of videos on this. But at the time, I didn't know. And the allure and the drive and the intoxication and the excitement with all the visions and the energy, feeling the energy and feeling, these loving beings around you and talking to them and, having these cool experiences and past life stuff and, and then you start talking about it with people and they're having the same thing. You could go and talk about this for like 24/7, okay? And get so sucked up and lost in this, it's not even funny. And so you basically, not knowing it, check out from reality. It's a way to check out from reality, to get lost in what you think are some cool beliefs and ways of looking at things, or the truth about what's really going on. But it really isn't. And then I'll explain that in a little bit. So, so now I'm only associating with people that are like me, that now I'm reading the books. Now I'm able to read all these channeled books and magazines, so I'm just reading everything I can and hearing about how the Ascended Masters and people who are channeling them and other groups and other solar systems out there that people are channeling are all talking about how we're entering a new age, the golden age, this new age where man will finally wake up and realize his true potential and ascension, and we're all going to live in harmony with one another, and those that can't hang, they'll just die, basically. I mean, they don't say it in those words, they make it sound pretty. They'll they won't be able to handle the shift. You need to have a certain vehicle or vessel type body to handle the kind of shift that's coming, that started in I don't remember, I think in the 90s, 1998 or something like that. And then 2012 it was like happening again, and I was paying attention to astrology, and people, because they would always, these ascended masters that would channel through these people or other beings that would channel through these people would always talk about astrology and the conjunctions and all this stuff. Okay. So, for those of you that never got into this, it's going to be hard to explain, but it's just, you can get so lost in this stuff, and people do, and I was like hook, line, and sinker in, because at that time, I as I said, I wasn't into Jesus or the Bible or Christianity or anything, didn't want to hang out with anybody like that, and so, you develop this, if this is what the truth is, what these beings, other planetary beings, whatever you want to call it, are channeling through these people, are saying is the truth, that we have found out, that we have come to, that is beyond the Bible and beyond, our understandings of what us mere earthlings will ever know, because they only know that they're the ones that hold the truth, and that God really is all loving, and the universal God that's all loving and all intelligent and non-judgmental, and wants peace and harmony for all, and the whole thing, which is what I believed, is not, the God of the Bible is judgmental. The God of the Bible is archaic. The God of the Bible, well, Jesus really was an ascended master. He was one of many ascended masters, like Buddha and all the others. And, what's this about him dying on a cross? Oh, well, that's just what they wanted you to believe at the time. The world couldn't handle that kind of energy and that kind of knowledge and that kind of understanding at the time. So, you get the gist of what I'm saying. So that's kind of where you're led. The more you read this kind of stuff and the more you hang out with people like this, they kind of believe the same way. And you feel like you really have this knowledge and information that not a lot of people have, that haven't woken up yet to the real truth. That the Bible, the Christians are so black and white. That's such outdated, antiquated thinking. And I thought the same thing. Like, how could I have ever been involved in any of that? I am so beyond that. I am so glad that I am into all this stuff, because this is really the truth. And God really is non-judgmental and loving. Why would he have all these bad things happen? And, why would he punish people and kill babies and kill children like in the Old Testament? That's putting a human face on God. And God is universal and all loving and non-judgmental. That's the source, right? So I believe that I had come upon the real truth. Like many who may or may not have, but most, like me, had been so negatively affected by Christianity in its many forms and denominations that, it's like a whole new plethora of knowledge that you're coming into that's very intoxicating. And when it's coupled with experiences that you have, it solidifies the truth, right? Physical experiences, emotional experiences, psychic experiences. You don't have to be on drugs to have them. Okay, I can testify to that, and so can many people I've known in this world. So, although some people have been on drugs that have had them, and it's like, what is intoxicating about this kind of stuff is you feel like, well, what's going to happen next? You're always looking around the corner because, there's always so much like stuff to learn. Like, oh, there's other planets out there, and there's other solar systems and other beings. Well, of course. Why? That's so archaic and antiquated to believe that God only created the earth. Come on. and then you want to learn more about them and know more about who they are, and maybe they'll speak to you. Maybe they don't have to speak through a channel. Maybe they can speak directly to you and you can be a channel, or maybe they can visit you. This is where the mind goes. And so for whatever reason, and I feel like it was the Lord's protection now, I never had any bad, negative, scary, terrorizing experiences that other people have had who were into the New Age. I never liked that term, so it's hard for me to say it. I always like to say metaphysical or something like that, because I felt like it was such a generic term. But regardless, it's all the same. It's all the occult. So, I'm just grateful that I never had any bad experience happen to me, because I have watched many videos and read many books where people have had some mind-altering, terrifying experiences. And what am I talking about? Well, sometimes I guess the way that the Lord wakes people up is by allowing them to be scared to death. So with a lot of these people, and you can watch your own videos to find out, and read your own books, because they're out there if you look for them, the testimonies of Christians who were into the New Age, or witchcraft or whatever, they have had terrifying experiences with the demonic realm, seeing Satan, seeing the demons. Basically, they disguise themselves as angels of light. Okay, Paul talks about that in the New Testament. So that's what Satan does. He's a master of it, and so are his agents of evil. So when they disguise themselves as angels of light, they could be ascended masters. They can be aliens. They can be beings from another world. You name it, they can be it. Okay? They have the ability to do that. I didn't know that. I did not know that at the time. And so I have now come to learn that that is what I was listening to and believing in, is the teachings straight from hell, straight from the occult. That sounded appealing and believable to sway the masses, because this is a war on souls, and Satan will do anything to attract you to his kingdom. Even though it's a kingdom of darkness, he can disguise it as a kingdom of light. Okay? I've read plenty of books about people that have seen stuff, that when the Lord has taken the veil off, or the blinders off, or showed them the truth, okay, it's all darkness. It's all evil. And all these evil beings want to do is steal your soul, so you can burn in hell forever. That's the end game. That's the plan, is to take you with them, okay, and get as many as they can. So when the Lord wakes people up to the truth, as painful and as terrifying as it is, he's right there and shows them him and who he is and the way and the truth, and they come to him. Okay, that didn't happen to me. I had a different kind of experience that led me back to the Lord. Okay, in 1 million billion years, I of all people, would be the last person that would ever come back to Jesus after what I had been through. That is how I felt, and that is what I believed for a very long time, up until a couple of years ago when I rededicated my life to the Lord. It's still hard for me to believe that I am talking to you and actually saying the Lord and Jesus and meaning it, and reading my Bible with the hunger and thirst that I used to have. I never thought in a million years that would happen. Okay? What it is it's testimony that once you're His, you're His. I am living testimony, and so are our other brothers and sisters, because I know I'm not the only one that is living testimony that the Bible is real. The Bible is true. And so is Jesus. And so is the devil. And so are the demons. Okay? So are angels. Although I don't believe in the winged angels. The human form 2 winged angels. No, don't believe that. There's no evidence in the Bible of angels with 2 wings on each side that look like humans. And especially that are 7 feet tall. Okay? I believe those are, that's the enemy disguising himself as an angel of light. That's my own personal opinion. But, I always go to the Bible for confirmation. At this point, in my walk, where I'm at, that's all I have. Because I will not listen to another human being. The Lord showed me that I have His word, So I'm going to stop here. I'm using a new software program. I want to just check it out. I don't even know if it's going to upload to YouTube. I'm hoping it does, but I want to continue on with the second part of my testimony, which is how I got out of the esoteric, metaphysical New Age and rededicated my life, which is kind of a long story. I kind of shortened this one. There's a lot that happened in between, but I was trying to make it as short as I could. So I will be back.